Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Lisa Gallant from Cornell Cooperative Extension. I'm the Executive Director, and today I want to talk to you all about the impact that the Taste New York store, which we run in Greene County, and the impact that it has on our Columbia County producers. So in the past year, and this, the sheet that I'm passing out is about 90% accurate because we're going through our numbers right now. Approximately $286,000 of products were purchased wholesale that we then shared at the store. So I just want to talk a little bit about the products and talk a little bit about how important supporting the Grown New York and the Taste of New York store is. And I have also brought, which I will have, we'll pass out applications. It's on our website, but I brought applications in case anybody has a friend and they're like, oh my gosh, you make a great product. So the goal of the Taste New York store is a partnership between Cornell Cooperative Extension, Ag and Market, the Thruway Authority, and ESD. And what we do is we help amplify the brands that are made and produced in New York. So as you can see from Hudson, right where we are, we have Vassilo's chocolate that we passed around. Also nearby, we have Common Grounds Field Salt, which is a beautiful product. From Ghent, we have some maple syrup. We have BFK jam that's passed around with the bread from. Anybody guess where the bread's from?
Our daily bread.
Correct. So we sell our daily bread.
Request Soft Center.
Our daily bread. The cheese is from Chase Home, which straddles Dutchess and Columbia counties. These beautiful coasters are another product of Columbia County. If you want to pass those around, there's a note card for if you want to do your some mascots, as we know, had a real tragedy this year, so we continue to support them by trying to buy as much cider as we can, as well as their fresh apples. And because we purchased some things through distributors, that's why this is not 100% accurate, but this is about 90% accurate on what we're currently, what we sold in 2024. So the maple leaf sugaring is out of Ghent, the BFK, which BFK is an excellent example of a really strong product for Columbia County because we have our cute little jarred products, but they're also a co-packer, and co-packers are hard to find. So if somebody has a product, you can bring it to them. For those of you who are into the excitement of fermented items, this is done through Hawthorne Valley Foods. So there's a lot of amazing products in New York, and with Cornell Cooperative, what we help someone do is you come to us and you say, hey, I want to bring my product to market. So we connect them at the state level with the university, and we help them when they get to the store level to promote their products. So we have displays, we have all educational programming around the product, what products pair nicely together. So I pass around some cheese from Chase Home and some jam from BFK and some bread from our daily bread. So the goal is to just share that by being not located here, but because I'm dual county, Greene and Columbia, we're always looking for new vendors, and some things work better than others. As you can see, last year we spent a tremendous amount with Love Apple, and then we diversify and we bring in other companies. We've also spent a bunch with our daily bread to bring those great products to market, and always looking at ways to bring the different versions of things that people are trying. So we can buy a small amount of something, see how it goes, and it's a safe way for someone to try a product out in the market before they go into a co-packer or a distributor. And the reason I wanted to share this with you all is you each represent communities where you might have makers or creators, farmers who say, hey, I have this cool thing, well, what do I do about it? You send them to me, and then I have a team of different staff that I connect with through other extensions and Cornell, and we say, okay, let's look at this product, let's look what's out there in the market, how many things have come forward, is it like, for example, we sell 2 maple syrups in our store, one from Columbia, one from Greene. So we try to represent the entire state, but because of our location, we really try to promote as much as we can. It's right from our 2 counties, as well as brands like you'll see Saratoga water in there, which is very well known, or Harney and Sons, our neighbor. But then if you all know somebody who's making something that might be an interesting product, it's a great way when people do the application. It's only good for our store, which is the one on the Thruway. But there's support to do it. And once you do one, it's easy to get into the other stores with similar things. So I just wanted to kind of share that there is this direct impact, what we buy at the wholesale price of almost $300,000 to Columbia County producers. Yes.
What's the total paid to vendor? Where's that coming from?
So that we're buying the wholesale price, and that's what they receive. So we buy your product whether it sells or not. So it's not on spec. So we purchase it, and then if we have to waste it out or we don't sell it, we give you that feedback. You know, this is really great, but people said they were looking for something with less sugar in it. Like for applesauce as an example. And so then we sell it at a markup to the customer. Did I answer you?
Yes.
Excellent. And like, for example, Vaselos it's what we like to do is a blend of products that people know that have been around. You know, I think Vaselos is almost 100 years old, and then new products that people haven't tried, and then sort of looking at how do you look at like a farm product like this common hand salt with the spices, and these people love them. And so we kind of are always moving around. Last year, I'm now much more involved in purchasing. This is now year 3 for me. So each of my 9 domains, this was the 9th domain I entered to learn more about. I haven't worked in retail in a long time, but I worked there a lot the last 3 months, and I thought this would be nice to share with you, and that you might want to let your constituents know that this is a great opportunity for people to get a start, get support from Cornell, from the Ag and Tech, and just to let people know, like, these products are really important for our local economy. People love to come and try the products that they know some of them have a story. So we tell a story, and that's how we train the staff. You're gonna have to eat more. I wish everyone out in TU could have some of that. But thank you guys very much. And just my other report in terms of how we're doing is we're continuing to look for more funding streams. Some of our funding streams did not come as we thought they might this year. And we are looking for, if there's anyone looking for education on any topic, you know, my team that's their goal. Our Cornell Profit Extension is education, be it agriculture, you know, food security, parenting, master gardeners. This past weekend, we just had a great event with Master Gardener Education Day in Hudson. So this, we're going to have to pass that up to that supervisor. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to leave the unopened products for whomever would like to take one home for them. These are opened, so you'll have to eat those and enjoy them. Does anyone have any questions about the products?
Not about the products, but just in terms of the tool. I know it's not the objective to make money from selling them, but do that.
Well, it's the objective for the producer yet, and the objective for Cornell, we can never take the profit. So we bring in enough money to operate the store.
Okay.
And then all the profits go to the person who we purchased. Then, well, we buy it wholesale.
Right.
And then hopefully it expands their business, but then Ag and Market, they're the ones who would take the additional remainder, what's brought in. And then that is kind of distributed through their system of how they're supporting those businesses with product development, research, approvals, health department. And all.
Is there alcoholic beverages or?
You know, it's funny, you can sell them at the comic store, but not the Thruway.
Ah,
Yeah, I did take umbrage with that. I was like, really? Yeah, oh, okay. Seems like, you know, so no, we don't, but we sell like mixers for Bloody Marys, which are fun, and we
Yeah,
sell
I just
some.
have a brewery in town.
Oh, that's right. If you have a I mean, if people are, another marketing, now it's huge, is the mocktails. I had no idea how expensive they were, but,
Right?
yeah, like,
I would
so
drink them all the time.
if we have someone in our community who already has a distillery or a brewery, it's a great thing for them to think about, because people are charging only 23% less than a cocktail. So if there's a mocktail product, I would say that would be something we'd be very interested in. So I'm going to leave these items for you guys to enjoy, and each of you can fight over the fun products of Taste New York and Columbia County. And please support all of the local folks that we have that are running facilities, and by, you know, encouraging people to taste their products. Sometimes the price point might be a little bit higher, but the products are local and they're very well sourced, and it's really important for us to keep our county economy strong by supporting our producers.
Is there a particular product that does the best?
Sandwiches and coffee, because you're on the road, you're trying to go somewhere. So the Love Apple sandwiches in our daily bread, the Love Apple sandwiches, they do a variety of them. They do a gluten-free. And they're one of our first partners that we had when we opened the store when they were, I don't think they're farming any longer. I think they're just turning the production side. I'm not sure. That's what I was told. But so the sandwiches, coffee, to-go snacks, pretzels, popcorn. So we're always moving around the product makeup, chocolates. So yeah, and like we're doing a tasting Friday. If anyone's around the Thruway, it's going to be maple syrup and pancakes. for Mapleton.
So what's your annual volume out of the store? May I ask?
So yes, we've made $1 million the last 2 years for Ag and Market and producers.
So you netted or you grossed?
That's the gross sales.
Okay.
Yeah, so we don't receive any of those funds. So we operate the store on a grant, which is getting reduced down every year. And then our goal is to make the store more and more efficient. So next year, these numbers will look very different because when you're running on a grant, people are a little bit not as tight on where the goal for the first 5 years was really try to give people a platform for their product. So now we're looking more at where else can we find things like these grab and go items that are healthy and have a good shelf stability is important for us because the traffic on the throughway is very unpredictable. You know, we're off that you can only come to us going northbound. So that's another added dynamic. Yes. Well, thank you all so much. It's nice to see you.
Thank you.
Please enjoy these products.
Thank you for the treat.
Yeah, I must say I was rather scandalized. I was on 90 heading north to Plattsburgh and I pulled over and they were selling like Vermont maple syrup. And what happened to New York scones?
The Get product is beautiful. It's very buttery. No, I know. No.
Did you bring snacks? Did you bring snacks?
No, I cast any aspersion on Vermont maple syrup.
We didn't bring any snacks. I knew, these are just the resolutions. I just thought that I wasn't gonna print the whole packet out, but
Does anybody wants one?
you may already have them.
I got one.
Poster them. Chairman, we have a number of things on our agenda. First of all, a CEDC update. As Supervisor Skoda knows, we're working on our update of our strategic plan. We try to do it every 3 years. It was interesting. I just spoke for 40 minutes to the board of the hospital. They asked me to come in and update them on for the economic outlook. And so I wanted to have some fun with them. So I went online. I found one of these websites that gives you all the demographic data. And a lot of them had fancy graphics. Others had narrative. So I cut and pasted the narrative under each of the areas. And I put it in my AI. And it came up with the 5 things we should be doing. 1, support small business.
Yay!
B, work on affordable housing. C, focus on infrastructure. D, look at workforce and education and healthcare and social service delivery. And the one that came up that I hadn't thought of before was how to get more young people here. And when you look at the Hudson Valley in general, because Patterns for Progress has done this data, but they didn't break it out specific to that I found for Columbia County, was age 0 through 20. That cohort is down. The age 44 to 65, that cohort is down, and the 65 and up is up. The interesting thing, though, I found was when I looked at the current enrollment from 2023 for Columbia County's school districts, all 6 combined, we still have less than 500 seniors, 500 students who are seniors in the 6 high schools.
That's much higher than I thought. I thought we graduated 200 last year.
That was the community college,
Okay.
which makes it even scarier. But you have a lot of non-matriculated students at the community college. But if you take all 6 school districts, you have less than 500, and it had been up to 650. But it looks pretty level. So if each of those classes move up, I think we may have hit the bottom. We'll share that strategic plan update with you at a future meeting. We did end our, we have also information over the last 10 years. We've done $5.8 million in small business loans to 244 businesses. We currently have $2.5 million of loans on the street and $1 million to lend. Obviously, we try to pace that so you don't have all of it on the street and do nothing for 2 years while you're waiting for it to come back in. We are somewhat concerned about what impact changes in Washington will have on the SBA program. But again, over the last 7 years or 10 years, we've put $700,000 of interest earned on those loans back into the county loan fund. So without the SBA, which it would take 7 years to run off the loans that are in process or have already been made, we would have a $2.5 million county loan fund. It would be a smaller scale, but it would otherwise have been 1.8, and that'd be hard to manage because you wouldn't have enough volume to maintain a staff person. We also recently received a second tranche of the micro enterprise grant program, which we're going to ask you today to amend your subrecipient agreement to retain us to manage the second tranche. Previously, the state gave us a $300,000 grant, and those funds are available to businesses that are less than 2 years in business, less than 5 employees, and up to $25,000 grant that you don't have to pay back unless you fail to meet some required benchmarks that we have to monitor. They thought we did such a good job that they amended their contract to give us a second round of $300,000, and the agreement with the county needed to be amended so that first the agreement between the state and the county, which you did the last time, but now the agreement between the county and CEDC to manage the additional funds is in your packet. Broadband, I'm a little concerned about our annual meeting, April 29th at the college. For 100 years, they had it at Kozel's. Then last year, we went to the Falls. We were thinking of going to the Caboose this year, but pricing was such that we'll go to the college where there's no event space cost. And you're all welcome, and we'll be getting invitations. We're not sure what's happening with broadband. The state put out their broadband request last month. No one other than Consolidated from Columbia County applied. The other providers, Mid-Hudson, Charter, GTEL, Archtop, all decided that you had to bid on one of 6 quadrants. You could bid on as many as you wanted, but you had to say that you would build out all of the unserved addresses in each of those quadrants. The state has not acknowledged that it was as unsuccessful, although they have now put out a second round 2, and that doesn't require you to bid on all of the addresses in each section. I suggested to them for Columbia County, because it's down to 500 or 600 addresses, just let everybody bid on whatever they want to bid on. And if they want to expand their system to the east, to the north, they have existing infrastructure in place. They could pick up spot addresses in those areas. And, then I don't know what you do with the 200 addresses that nobody wants or are too expensive to build. But I think that by having had 4 providers in a county this size, it's not like other areas of the state where they've had 1 or 2 where they were in Albany County. They have Charter and Spectrum, and they run. They can compete at every house, and here it's much different setup. On the USDA grant, I want to thank the town of Ghent for continuing to bear with the other New Lebanon and Canaan in the process. You'll recall that the grant was awarded to all 4 towns with Ghent as the lead. Consolidated went and merged on December 28th, causing all the middle documents to have to be redone. Obviously, again, I Google every morning, SBA microloans and USDA broadband grants. And I haven't found them knocked off the list yet, but, I think there's certainly some concerns.
It's probably so far back. I mean, it's 3 years old now. They probably can't find the documents.
Yeah.
Right.
But at least everything is in, and I know the attorneys worked through it, and I know each of the towns had to take action, and we're obviously all hopeful that that will resolve.
So we had an accident yesterday on 295 in which the consolidated repair people told our fire company responders that they would no longer be servicing lines that were not fiber optic after 2025, 26, uncertain deadline, but that was the orders from the new owner. They were going to service and maintain lines that were fiber or.
From Consolidated.
And that's what they were telling the fire company, just so you know. I mean, I don't see how they could do that. I don't see how they let go of those lines, but that's what they
It
think.
could be it could be a posture to be able to get money to get everybody fiber. I did get your text. I was away last week. But
Welcome back.
thank you. We have, sometimes people are able to talk to people at the other end of the line into getting something that no one else can have, and then then they tell everyone, and then other people want to know how are they going to get it too. But it appears in the most recent round of Connect All Office grants that they will go to the lateral. They'll go to the house regardless of the distance. Now that'll accept people who had to pay $25,000 to
Yes.
bring it into their house, but
Fiber, they'll go to the house for fiber.
right, well, because right now they're only obligated to go 300 feet. So if your house is more than 300 feet up the road, you had to pay for it yourself.
Tell my constituent, please.
Yeah.
Is the Connect All funding, is its initial or original source federal? So is that funding already set aside, or is it more vulnerable than, say, the USDA funding might be?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think, passing the continuing resolution didn't mean they approved that they're going to release the money that was that previously budgeted for the last year. We did get a $120,000 grant, as you may recall, 2 years, 60 grand a year to work on digital equity. Unless they quickly change the title of that, I would suspect that those funds might be at considerable risk. I think digital connectivity. I think we should.
It's a nice new name.
Nice new name. So again, the last 500 addresses we knew would be the hardest, but I was hoping that it would be because there were 200 that no one wanted and they had to go to satellite. But I think we just have to keep the pressure on, monitoring it, don't miss a deadline, keep in touch with the providers and the customers.
Do you have any sense of the remaining vendors? How many of them might bid for round two? Or is it too early to tell?
If I was here last week, I would have known, but no, it's the second thing on my agenda tomorrow.
What areas are still underserved?
Well, remember, if you look at our map, it looks like measles because it's not Hillsdale is probably the major cluster.
Right.
They have 200 out of the 500 that are, but
So your project should be easier because we got y'all surrounded now between Austerlitz, Ghent, Clydeburg, and
Yeah,
that was
people
always the problem.
Just finished. They could extend their lines and finish.
Yeah.
Right, everybody, the Parkway was hard to
Yep.
get to you. DOT ended up being as slow, if not slower than NICEAG on their poll permits. And all that stuff's done, so.
But I think
except for poll
you're
permits.
right. We've always thought that the way to get this done was build another 3 houses from your existing boundary. And then your boundary keeps moving
Right,
closer to where.
so. I would
But if
think-
you're one of the 500 that don't have service, you're not, you don't like to hear us brag about how many people we've gotten through.
They use it now in those areas.
Dial-up.
Dial-up, AOL, you know.
Smokes.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna jump to the resolutions and then have come back to you on the housing. In the interest of time.
Which one do you want now?
The first resolution is the Columbia County IDA. For whatever reason, out at the Commerce Park, there was a 1 acre parcel that was left between lot 8 and lot 9. And it looked like it was intended to be perhaps access to the acreage behind the lots that were on the frontage. But in working with Dan Russell at Crawford, that land behind there is not buildable. And the county IDA, or the county, has extensive frontage on 66 if you ever needed to get in there because of the airport runway or some other demand. And between Columbia Tent and where Paul Harpus wants to build, there's also another acre strip. Harpus apparently proposed a design that was not more than the lot would support. And so he came to us and asked if he could buy the 1 acre parcel in between. I went to the owner on the other side and said, if you're interested in half of it, we'll split it, because I didn't want to be in a situation where as a local development corporation, we can negotiate the sale of the price as long as it's at fair market value. But, you know, so I didn't want to have him find out that it was sold to his neighbor and he hadn't had a chance to discuss it, but he was not interested. We, based on the $250,000 price of the 6 acres that we purchased on behalf of the county up on Route 9H, that was $40,000 an acre. We're proposing a $50,000 purchase price. And we believe, it's our understanding that the title had already been transferred from the county to the IDA, because if you look at the tax map, that's what it shows. But apparently when the title company got in there, the map was wrong. And so it requires authorization to transfer the 1 acre parcel. It's on the back of your 1 acre parcel joining 8 Bender Boulevard. And it's part of a much larger parcel. And it does.
I'll make a motion that we move this.
Second.
Motion's been moved in second. All's in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
The second resolution is consistent with what you've done in the past, and that is to transfer the proceeds of the sale to CEDC to be held in reserve for your further direction. And that's the only reason we had the money to be able to buy the acreage up on Route 9H. And we do anticipate the IDA will have some projects this year, and they get 1% of the project fee. So if it's a $5 million project, you know, they'll end up getting enough
Move it.
money to run.
Second.
Motion's been moved in second. All's in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sherry, there are 2 typos. Development Corporation.
Kelly Hill, yeah, all that kind of thing.
The third resolution is the resolution I discussed briefly with respect to the additional $300,000 grant that the Office of Community Renewal has made to the county. And the county traditionally has hired CEDC to manage those grants. And the amendment to the contract with the state has been completed. Now we're asking that you amend this so that we can take the appropriate fee to manage the second $300,000.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion's been moved in second. All's in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
The next one, the final resolution, is a solar project in the town of Germantown. You may have read about it in the newspapers. Our CEDC wants, We had a couple of calls because someone said, oh, you go to CEDC and you get a pilot. And some of the people opposed the project called and said, well, don't give them a pilot. And I said, well, if you don't give them a pilot, the town gets nothing. School district gets nothing under state law and the county gets nothing. And I said, we're not in the business of, our role here is purely ministerial and administrative. The developer did come to the county, and you'll recall we used to do these at $15,000 a megawatt. We've upped it to $4,500 a megawatt. Green County's at $8,000 a megawatt because they want to slow these down. The position that we have advanced here at the county is if the town planning board approves it and the town board agrees to the pilot, then it goes to the school district. If they agree, then you will consider it. And so, we just wanted to be clear. And so what this resolution would authorize the chairman to enter into this pilot agreement, which, has been, the dollar amount has been increased from the others that have been done in the past.
Is this the payment formula that we talked about standardizing?
Yes.
So it's, the school district still comes in as the top dog?
Yeah. And the reason that it also says that the chairman is authorized to sign, and that's as long as the other two municipalities approve it and the town and the school district sign it. Because we don't want the county in front of home rule.
What's Ulster County at? You said Green County's at 8,000.
I can find out. I don't know off the top of my head. These are only for 5 megawatts or less.
All right.
They're the ones that can go into the distribution system. You'll recall, and perhaps those of you who are more recent members of the board, when the project in Copake was proposed, the Board of Supervisors unanimously passed a resolution indicating that directing the IDA not to provide any financial incentives, including a pilot, to those developers unless the town gave us their consent to both the terms and the agreement.
And the town exercised the options. It opted out right before he said anything. So
Yeah.
Then you have to do that for all solar projects, right?
Not if they're under 5 megawatts. The Board of Supervisors did direct us to not assist projects under 5 megawatts, because if they're under 5 megawatts, and they send you the notice and you haven't opted out, you get nothing.
Right, but when a municipality opts out of 487, isn't it a blanket that you have to opt out of all of them?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, your point is the larger ones too. You just can't be selective.
I had a question for you, Yeah, Chairman.
You may.
Speaking of municipal home rule, have you seen many agreements now that are called a host community benefit agreement? They're in lieu of or in addition to the pilot programs. Have you seen any of those in this area?
Yeah, we did several with ELP, Eastern Power and Oregon. Yeah. And it was that they weren't significant in the sense of dollars, but they were obligated to have internships at the school. I think there was one where they had to pay $10,000 or $20,000 a year towards playground.
Yeah.
But in other areas of development, those can be significant.
Yeah, I think the impetus was that the town, and it's the planning board that goes through it and bears the burden of this and that, and the burden of the installation, and the town maybe should benefit here, I say this, more than the school district or the county.
Well, you may recall that the way we got to increase it from 3,000 to 4,500 was most pilots that the IDA does, and these pilots are outside of the IDA, the agreed upon pilot payment is split between the 3 taxing jurisdictions in proportion to what each of the taxing jurisdictions tax is to the whole. So the school district generally gets 50 to 60%, the town gives like 5%, and the county gets the balance. we had told the developer that, for solar under 5 megawatts, 50% went to the school district, 25 to the town, and 25 to the county, trying to balance out that the town is the one that has the biggest expense related to these projects.
So we're actually getting more than we did get, but we're not getting below our share.
But, so what happened is this guy came in and he sent in the pilot and he split it based on the percentage of tax rate. So, as a result, the county was gonna get 4%. The county was, gonna get 18%. The school district was gonna get 70%. So I called the Ichabod Crane School District Business Manager. He referred me to their lawyer. And the lawyer said, well, if they've offered us that, how can we say we're gonna take less? Somebody will be in here all over us. So I grossed the guy up so that you would get 25% of what number will get you to the point where the town and the school district and the county will get the same dollars amount if they would have gotten if it was 25%. It meant the school district got even more.
Yeah.
But at least, it was a way to move it up. And I know we've talked about, I can get numbers from other counties so that you can see, it is a way to slow it down. Because they become somewhat uneconomical at a certain price point.
Well, even down at the Association of Towns, there was a developer presenting in one of their workshops. And, the response is when you say you're concerned about farmland is agrivoltaics. But if you sit there and you say to a developer, we want your panels 4 feet higher, they're going to say that's unduly burdensome. So it's kind of interesting that.
There's also another piece that we had a solid waste work group meeting this morning, and most of these solar installations are tied to a performance bond, which includes the removal of the panels when the life of the panels is over, but there's no place to take the panels.
Yeah, and the state is hoping that the recycling catches up with,
But it hasn't
but it hasn't.
begun.
So the resolution before you would be to authorize the chairman on behalf of the board to enter into this agreement, provided the town and school district have approved.
I would move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor? Any opposed?
But that number, the 4,500 is not the final standard.
Well, it's by, it could be $100,000 a megawatt if you wanted to, shut the whole thing down. I mean, it's up to you to vote.
I'm saying 4 megawatt, the distribution.
Oh, it's only, you can't, the $4,800 megawatt projects are all under 5 megawatts.
Right.
And because over 5 megawatts, you have to finance it through an IDA because of the size of it. And you're going to want to negotiate something. You're not on a 400 megawatt project, you're not going to get $4,800.
Are the 5 megawatt or less projects more likely to serve local communities?
It can only go into the distribution system.
Okay.
So, and sometimes there's 3.5 megawatts because if it's an older distribution system on a back road where the field is, they have to scale it back. NYSERDA set the standard at 3,000, but that was 5 years ago. So I could see us keep moving it up, but.
But what happened here with with the
Right.
contractor.
To try to,
Right.
he didn't do what he was told.
Right.
Lisa has a question.
So full disclosure, I live in Germantown. I did not vote because of my position. I try to remain, I didn't go to the public meeting, but also due to my position, I have a lot of knowledge around this topic. And I'm just wondering, to what Supervisor Combs says, looking at the value of the agricultural land that we have, the cost of removal of these systems, if they are no longer considered to be effective, hazard and cost benefit analysis. I do know that there's research that a colleague of mine is doing in Ulster on agrivoltaics on tree fruit to determine if there's a way to do it. Also, there's some saffron trials that have happened, but there's also trials with sheep. But I just think it would be wonderful to look at some ways to be more creative so that the ag land, that we think about this in terms of tops of buildings, schools, places of that nature, and that we look at the ag land, more creativity.
Well, Epicals, I think they're building on soils of statewide importance, a large percentage, over 50.
And I think that, that's where home rule comes in.
Yeah.
And I also think that, I think we now have 7 or 8, so you have 35 acres out of how many thousands of acres? Are there out there?
And wasn't COC working with Kippy Weigelt on a map overlay of ag soils so that they could identify districts with less than prime ag soils for, right?
Let's talk about.
Yeah, that's a great result.
I think I think that Bovrek has already adopted their law, and I think that Troy Weldy said they'd make it available to anybody that's interested to look at it.
Okay, we'll get
But it's
that
a way
for
to
the-
keep prime soil out of the equation by establishing zones, site zones.
That's fine.
And you can do it through zoning.
That's for small
For small
households,
installations.
just none of this counts when you get.
Well, and yeah, the state board can do anything, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And they do.
And they have.
And each time you try and.
But each,
And they have something they.
They're proposing a lower threshold for ORES review
right,
Right.
right now,
Yeah.
going way down,
Yeah.
so.
but every little
Counts
bit
on the
helps.
west
I think.
side.
Well,
True.
obviously, fossil fuel power generation is, not good either, but at what point do you find some kind of a balance
Well, especially now when all of this is in,
in flux?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, the other piece of it is, Albany has, and the capital region to a great extent has focused so much on the offshore wind, and now that's over.
Mhm.
And they, for what the whole Port of Albany area where they took all those trees down. And, but again, the
It's
job,
over because the money's not coming through.
well, there's some discussion in Washington that, not gonna allow that. Yeah. And, then the people out on Long Island didn't want to look at it. And then they had, I guess, over on Cape Cod, some blades landed up on the coastline. But,
We've still proven that the infrastructure is not there for even what we're doing right now, so.
so I heard we're on the bridge list. They came out yesterday.
I saw that yesterday.
The 11 bridges in New York State that if a barge hits them could come down.
Rip Van Winkle is one of them.
I go over 3 times a day.
When you see the barge coming, just pull over.
It's a list of endangered bridges.
I mean, you can't live your life.
So have we gotten through your list?
Yes.
Yeah.
Done. And we're not even at 6 o'clock. So Chris, I
Thank you.
yield. Thank you.
You left your 10 minutes, Chris.
That's fine, I can do it. So the answer to how many acres is out there is a little over 406,000. I had to scratch my brain, but 635 square miles, and there's apparently 400.
Promise they're not making any more.
They're not making any more unless they're dredging. I'll break this up into 3 buckets. As far as what CEDC is working on, we've got the Housing Task Force, we've got Pro-Housing Communities, we have the Land Bank. Housing Task Force side, we've gone to a bi-monthly full task force meeting, and our committees are now meeting bi-weekly. Is to give us a little bit more breathing room to work on the projects that we create in the committees, and B, also to take a little bit of time back for myself, which we're now kind of reapportioning to land bank duties. The 2 major things that the Housing Task Force is working on right now, the first is a workforce survey. As far as I can tell, this will be one of maybe the 4th or 5th workforce surveys that have ever been done on a countywide basis. So this is something that's going out to actual employees and throughout the county, as opposed to the employer survey that we put up a couple of years ago. This one will be a little bit more robust. We're hoping for a much better response rate. The other thing that the Housing Task Force is working on is a quarterly newsletter. So the first one will be coming out next week. So we're wrapping that up this week in the office. It's going to be a little bit about, there will be some history to it. So I think when you receive it, you'll see some things that you already know, but it's our first newsletter. So there will be some review for folks that are in the know.
So can we just talk 1 second
Yeah.
about why that is? Because so many people, so many supervisors or towns feel that they're in a vacuum. They're not.
Yeah, and Supervisor Collins is here, and this kind of, the origin of this was a conversation I had with Angus Ian, who was overseeing Chatham's zoning review. When I mentioned, we were just having a conversation about where Chatham's at with their zoning, sort of just broadly housing. And he asked me, are any of the other towns working on this pro-housing thing? And he asked me this 3 months ago. I said, yeah, everybody is, literally all the towns. But I've had that conversation several times with several different representatives from different towns. So we want to get the newsletter out there so that it can be circulated to the individual towns. They know that this is, a regional and county-wide issue. What we'd really like to see spring out of that is more groups like the Rojan Housing Task Force, more multi-town and multi-village coalitions. The issue doesn't have borders certainly within the county or outside of the county. So it's great when multiple towns can sort of workshop solutions together. So I was Housing Task Force. On the pro-housing community side, I have everybody's zoning data uploaded. So 100% on zoning data. That's the good news. Bad news is I did it backwards. I should have gone town by town and done zoning and building permits at the same time. Because right now we basically have, the village of Kinderhook is now pro-housing. So we got one more in the interim. But as of now, we don't have any more since December. But once I start getting all the building permits done, which I've got most of the town's information, we'll start racking them up pretty quickly. So we might see another explosion, like when we went from 3 to 11, we might go from 12 to 20 really quickly.
And we recertified last week.
Oh,
We've
good.
already gotten our acknowledgement.
Yeah, that was, I don't know if I strategically forgot to mention this to towns and villages or it just slipped my mind. There is a recertification process. So if you become pro-housing certified, every year you've got to recertify. It's pretty easy. You basically submit building permit data that change your housing count. And the only reason you would submit zoning data is if you change your zoning in a way that affects your residential.
How long did it take you to hear back if I put mine in?
So we,
For your recertification? Oh, that's quick.
What's it coming from? Zach, what should we be looking out for?
Oh, just building permits that come in that either increase or decrease your housing units.
That was just the year 2024, right?
Just last year.
Yeah, you're getting an email from them.
You'll get an
Okay,
email. Yeah, so whenever you was ever in your anniversary, thereabouts? Yeah, so when you hit your anniversary of certification, they'll send you another one. The good news is a lot of the grants that are tied behind pro housing are very often just tied behind you have started the process, you're not actually certified yet. So even if you fall out of your certification, you'll still be okay.
So I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And then on the land bank side, I think the only thing that's new is we're waiting for administrative funds. That grant's been submitted, or the application for that has been submitted. The application for the capital budget is going in this week. Then the real big news, I'm not sure if I told you this, when the governor released her executive budget, land banks got zeroed out. It's the third year in a row that she's done that. The one house budget has land banks fully funded again. So I think it's $40 million is what the one house budget has in it. I feel like the one house budget tends to prevail as far as land banks
Which house
go.
was it? Suddenly?
It's the response to the executive.
But I think that, one of the issues we saw in the past was that not all the money had been spent.
Right.
So they need to read.
Yeah, there's a bit of a kind of a blocked garden hose. And then I think the other thing I'd like to say about the land bank is that the design of our first transaction from start to finish is basically going to be exactly what we told Empire State Development and what we told the supervisors. Here's how we see the land bank working with the towns and working with nonprofit development partners. Basically a perfect pilot project. It's all lined up. We just need to wait for the foreclosure sale to happen and then for the land bank to actually receive the funds that it can spend on acquisition. But it'll be a start to finish. Here's how we want this to operate. This is exactly how it operated, which is pretty exciting.
And the first step was your call to the supervisor?
Yes. I don't want to say which supervisor, but it was specifically the way the process works is we have to ask the towns, are you comfortable with transferring this property into the land bank's inventory? That particular town, the entire town board was unanimous, and not only do we want you to have this property, we want it to be for affordable housing, which is the intended end use. So it worked perfectly.
And as you know, you can, slip by, of course, but, the supervisors are the only ones that can actually, transfer the land as part of the tax foreclosure process. But, you know, if you weren't looking at the list, this was intended from the very beginning that we would start with, it's up to the supervisor to decide whether they would involve their town board or not. But, we didn't want to get ahead of you.
No, so the supervisors were given an advanced look at the lists to make sure that the properties that were going to foreclosure were unoccupied properties. So we weren't putting anyone out of housing in order to foreclose.
That's all I have.
You know, it's daunting.
Oh.
ADU.
Yes,
Yes, right.
I don't have a gag order on this. Other people might. The third round of the +1 ADU program from the state to the applicants, notifications have gone out to those applicants. And I can say that two of the last three, well, the only two communities left that want to have ADUs in their localities are Hudson and Taconic. So they will be a part of the next round of
Yay.
ADUs. Oh, thank you. So that is being handled by our partner organization, Repco, who is also running a vacant rental improvement program, which is now open to applications. My understanding is that they were fully subscribed when they sent out basically an inquiry of, are you interested in this program? And they got their doors blown off. So the applications are open because they have to be. But I think that they already know pretty much how many applicants you're going to have from each area. And again, I expect Columbia County to get somewhere between 6 and 8 units. So I don't know if that's one project or multiple projects. And the land bank will use some of its funds to supplement that grant for each recipient.
And remind me how long that's open again. Do you remember?
The application period. It just, I was talking to Faith Moore from Rupco and I asked her, I said, "Oh, on your website." She said, "Oh, we just opened it yesterday." So I haven't actually seen it yet. I imagine it'll probably be open for 4 to 6 weeks. But I'll double check tomorrow.
And because we expect this to be oversubscribed, we'll have the same criteria, or they will have the same criteria for selection. Everybody will be identified in terms of how they qualify. Or is it first come, first served?
I'm not sure how they want to do it. You know, I think that they want to have as much of a geographic disbursement as they can. Yeah, that's a good question for them, because is it just going to be here at the top, 80 scored applications regardless of where they're from, or
Right.
do we want to have some sort of geographic representation? Maybe that's
Preferred.
we should maybe get on the horn with them as a
Okay.
executive committee of the health desk.
If it was first come, first served, you might find, one county gets them all.
That's what I'm
The
afraid of.
Poughkeepsie would get everything, yeah.
Have you reached out to the building inspectors? I know Lee Hyman and I were talking about possible foreclosed property, and he might be or the building inspectors might have an insight that we might not be getting. He was just offering his help. We share a building inspector. Just a thought, if you want to.
You
talk
could have
to
a
him.
relationship with building inspector in any circumstance.
We were just talking about that with someone about
Bank foreclosures?
any foreclosures, bank foreclosures or county foreclosures, but I know that we're doing that in town. We're doing a drive around.
Yeah.
It's probably Dan.
But
It was Dan Barlow.
Yeah,
It was Dan, yeah.
Yeah, he would know where the
Yeah.
bodies are buried. So just an idea to, if you want to do a phone call with him or any of the.
Yeah, that came up during a policy committee meeting, actually. Dan Barcaldi from your board. He's really, and I think this is a great idea. He wants to do a real sort of boots on the ground inventory of what's out there. We think this property is completely abandoned. We think it's bank foreclosure. And I think that code enforcement officers and building permit guys are definitely the ones to speak to, because they'll either be fielding complaints about those properties or they'll have driven past them 1,000 times.
Yeah, right. I'll give you his number.
Okay, I talked to you.
Okay.
Is there a policy or program for houses that are functionally abandoned, but maybe with the taxes are being paid, but they're still
Zombie.
zombie property, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you need a really active code enforcement office is the issue. So when I used to work in the city of Troy, we had a really powerful zombie program. And a few years ago, the three capital region cities, Schenectady, Albany, and Troy, all got together and sued the most egregious of sort of these zombie property owners. And they got millions and millions of dollars, but it was 3 years of, each city's full-time code enforcement work. It took a really long time.
Okay.
They are at the state level, they're strengthening this provision in real property law called 19A, which basically says if a property is abandoned and that abandonment is defined locally, so it's however you define it in your code. If it's abandoned, you can foreclose on it after 1 year of unpaid taxes, not 3.
Unpaid.
But if they're still paying the taxes, it's tricky.
Right.
Sometimes you can just talk to banks directly though, if you know who's got the note on it, and that's, if they're just paying the taxes, not maintaining it.
Right.
It's profitable to you.
Those problems in our community tend to be people that have either run into trouble with financing, they overextended or didn't have enough money, or things that are tied up in estates.
Air properties would be the channel.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
The only thing I found this on Friday, and Congressman Taco is hosting a webinar tomorrow, so we're gonna listen to it and I'll try to tape it for any of you who are interested. I know I'd sent it to you, Mike, based on our conversation. It's a workshop about federal and state water and wastewater funding opportunities. The EFC Environmental Facilities Corporation, provide an overview along with technical assistance options and include program eligibility and requirements. I can send it out again tonight, but I don't know if I missed it because I was away or just he didn't send it out early on.
Thank you. Yes,
Supervisors have any questions?
Would you like the motion?
I would entertain one.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Point of order, could I ask that you note that it was 5:57?
So you guys